This lecture corresponds with sections 2.3 and 2.4 in your textbook. I want to encourage you to look carefully at that material. This is just a broad strokes presentation of these topics. There are often cases in which I want to compare groups with different frequencies. So we spoke just a couple of minutes ago about differences in little boys and little girls and how they express their responses to the removal of the toy that they wanted. So one method is the proportion method. This compares the number of cases to the total size of a distribution. This converts frequencies to proportions with the formula proportion equals frequency divided by n. Remember from the last lecture that n refers to the total number of people in your sample. F refers to frequency, or the number of times that you have observed a given response. So back to the idea of crying in response to the toy. The proportion of those that cried would be the total number of people that cried divided by the total number of people in the observations. Second, we have the percentage methods, which deals with the frequency of occurrence per 100 cases. All I have to do here is multiply my proportion by 100. So I take if I want to solve for the percentage, I take the frequency of a category response divided by the total number of observations in the sample, and then I multiply by 100, and that'll express my percentage. So one way to think of the percentage and the proportion is a linear transformation of each other. A proportion is expressed in terms of decimals. The percentage removes those decimals and expresses the values in terms of a percent. Now, moving on to ratios and rates. A ratio is going to compare the number of cases in one category to the number of cases in another. So if we want to know the ratio of crying in response to taking away the toy for males versus females, I could create a ratio. I might want to know a rate, which is the ratio of actual to potential cases, what's out there in the world, for example. And then I might want to know a rate of change, which is to compare a population across 2 points in time. So I want to know whether or not the rate of drunk driving changes as a function of some community intervention. Or I might want to know the rate of employee injury in response to safety training. All of these methods allow us to look at what we're observing in our particular sample, compare that to what we would expect in the larger population, and then also to look at change. So these are very useful statistics. And again, please look again at the sections 2.3 and 2.4. I encourage you to do some of the exercises that are in the book as you practice.